Ashley.
I'm Laurie. Welcome to
Sumo Kaboom, where we talk about all things sumo.
Yep, we're dumping.
Yeah.
We're jumping, not dumping into the sumo fan content pool again.
Yeah.
We're jumping back into it because we keep finding out more information about content creators that we love.
That's right. How this all started was we were thinking, what can we do? And we're thinking about who are the people that give a lot to the community? How can we give back? How can we sort of like highlight them? Because they're kind of like these just anonymous, like, well, not anonymous, but they're just these Twitter handles or what have you, or Instagram handles, or
they're sumo angels.
They're sumo angels.
Who they are.
And they put all this content and out there. And of course, there's the biggies that we love. We love Tachi I Blog. We like Sumo, you know, on Facebook. But these are some of the individual contributors on websites and social media platforms that you see and see all of this awesome sumo content because they spend a lot of their time translating it for us and putting it in front of our eyes. So we just kind of wanted to highlight them and the work that they do.
Before we get into that, can I just mention a few other things that came from email from you guys who are listening to us and you're like, hey, here's a few things you haven't mentioned. One, Carl in the UK said, hey, have y'all found on YouTube Tech Japanology?
Yeah.
And I had not found Tech Japanology, but thank you so much for sharing it, Carl, because there's a major video that comes up and I watched it with my mouth literally hanging open because it was so good.
It's basically a dance routine that is fully choreographed by the Futagiyama stable boys, and they are in sync and they are literally like doing in sync type of moves.
It's fabulous.
Like a large boy band, but it's everything that I needed in my sumo content for the day. And extra. It was more than what I could possibly hope for.
Yes.
And them singing just like some loose English words. I'm not sure exactly what the song was, but it brought the sumo bang bang.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sending that. I can't remember who it was that suggested this, but said, hey, y'all haven't mentioned sumoforum.net.
Yeah.
If you want a place online where you can take polls about sumo, you can get into discussions, there's all these threads at sumoforum.net where you can learn more about Rikishi and Japanese culture.
Yeah.
And it's more of a discussion place.
like Reddit. And I have to admit, like, I sometimes go there and like check in with the conversation, but probably not just because I'm actually not a fan of like the Reddit format for everything like in my life. But I do know that a lot of people love that. And it is, I'm sure, an amazing resource. So thank you for bringing that to our attention because there's a lot of people who contribute on social media who are also in those sumo forum rooms.
Yeah. And lots of people love those. So if you're that kind of person,
go for it.
Go for it.
Asanoyama, one of my faves, is hurt. He is out for only 3 weeks for a torn medial collateral ligament in his right knee, which says it will only take three short weeks to fix that. And I'm like, oh, I don't think so. But he's rather gloomy because he's not really had a knee injury up to this point. And so I know he's been pushing towards trying to regain that Ozeki status, and like all of these little hiccups keep coming along the way. But I know he's listening, as he always is, Asanoyama. Get well soon. We love you.
Yeah, be drinking the water that comes from the fountain of sumo youth.
That's right.
That somehow helps people heal knee problems in 3 weeks.
That's right. Also, another kind of scary thing is Asashoryu had emergency surgery this week for cancer. It has not been stated what type of cancer it was, but he's only 43 years old. And so I think for an emergency surgery, it probably had to be something. So he seems to be back on social media or being like, I'm okay. I'm good. Thank you. The Japanese, medical staff are incredible and like the best in the world. And so we know he's being well taken care of. It's a scary, scary diagnosis, but we will send our good sumo energy his way as well, because we love the spicy uncle of Hoshoryu who chimes in about things on social media.
Yeah, we need Mr. Sassy Pants in the sumo mix.
We do. And he's got great style. So, I always appreciate his sunglasses and cool looks.
Well, and he seems so happy, whoever the lady is that he's hanging out with all the time. And he's always posting pictures of the two of them out and about and kissing and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, what a wonderful life he's having.
I know. So hopefully she is taking good care of him in his time of need. So I know in the next couple of weeks we'll have Banzuke. We'll have more things to talk about. There has been all kinds of tour stuff. We have been seeing so much tour content that it truly makes me happy. Every day I'm turning into the person that's scrolling for like 3 hours solid on just sumo tour content. But it was a very successful tour, according to, I think it's Sakagawa is the tour manager. And he said everyone participated in the fan experience. So meaning all the wrestlers were probably threatened. You better sign every photograph and take every picture. Because they did.
I love it.
And they can tell the difference. The fans are out and about and loving sumo. And I think that's helping the sport overall. So that is kind of where that is. We'll be hearing the Banzuke soon and moving into tournament time here soon. I have to say, my nightly routine has now become watching Kisei Stable's YouTube channel or Futagayama's YouTube channel. Basically, it's a daily, behind the scenes view of what the wrestlers go through at the stable. And of course, there's always Sumo Kyokai. You can see all of the things they upload, onto YouTube. And of course, our favorite, Hiro from Sumo Primetime, giving us our English language, international sumo news. But I have to say, there are other people who spend countless hours scrolling through the trenches of online sumo content in Japanese just to bring it to us for free. And I want to highlight them. And you may recognize a lot of these names. We just appreciate the work they do. I reached out and asked them some questions about what they love about sumo, how they get their content, why they do it, what they're aiming for in the future. And I thought I'd just highlight 4 of them. The first one I wanted to bring to your attention is you may see Sarah Loves Sumo on Twitter, and I believe Sarah Likes Sumo on YouTube and Patreon. She says I'll read it here in a minute, but she's not as much on YouTube anymore because they have such strict restrictions on any sort of copyright stuff. Yeah. So she's moved a lot of her stuff because she makes like compilation, stuff. So of course
we understand.
We get it.
We totally get it. That's our trouble with putting stuff on YouTube. We're like,
we can't.
We can't take somebody else's content and remix it and make our own.
Yeah.
And who wants to watch 2 girls in Texas talk about sumo?
Well, I guess people want to hear us. Yeah. But anyway, here is what Sarah said. I found sumo while clicking through channels on a boring rainy night about 8 years ago. Came across the NHK English highlights. Same deal with me. And this was the era of 4 Yokozunas. And I thought the bouts were so cool, she says. Instantly, she was hooked. She has not missed a day of a basho since.
Hey.
And now she soon moved on to live streams where all 6 divisions were available. And then she actually watches 8 to 9 hours per day, if you can believe it.
Wow, Sarah. Is her real name Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, Sarah.
I mean,
Sarah, that's incredible. 8 to 9 hours.
I know.
What are you doing all day?
I mean, just immersing herself in sumo. That's why I was
working and watching sumo all day.
I don't know. Maybe Sarah's a multimillionaire that just kicks back on her yacht and watches sumo all day.
Yeah, maybe she's retired.
And I would just one day of your life because that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. She says she doesn't spend too much time posting on social media. She kind of prefers to scroll other people's sumo content. But if I watch a cool bout or see something cute on YouTube or have original content, I post it. I also like highlighting her favorite Rikishi's birthday. Because the Rikishis themselves, she said, often or repost her posts.
Isn't she the one that often posts photos of herself with Rikishi?
Yes,
so she must live in Japan.
No.
What? Is she putting herself in these photographs? How is that happening?
No, she goes to Japan. She writes she's gonna go to Japan here soon for the tournament. Something tells me Sarah just is immersed in sumo, and that's the way she spends her life. So
she travels to Japan,
yes,
and then says, "Hi, come over here. Let me take a selfie with you." And that's, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yes.
I totally thought she lived in Japan.
No, I did too, because she has all this content and pictures with wrestlers. I was like, she must live there, but no. She says she's met a couple hundred rikishi at this point.
A couple hundred?
Yeah. And she
Sarah,
said,
I have not met one.
I know. Well,
Professional.
Well, you talked to Konishiki.
Oh, but not face to face.
Oh, that's true.
That's what
In
I'm
the
saying.
same room?
Face to face.
Yeah, me acting awkwardly around Gagamaru that's about how it went when I met him. That was the only one who was retired. But anyway, she said they were all really nice except one. And I won't say who, but I bet people could guess. Who would be the one
who's not nice?
Who's not nice. Who do you think?
I bet it starts with an E.
Endo?
That's who I would think.
Really?
Don't you think Endo wouldn't necessarily?
No, I mean, I saw a lot of pictures of him on tour. He seems kind of sad, but like not mean. But she said everyone was nice. I would think, I know a lot of people love Ichinojo, but he might be a little unapproachable. But I don't know. Who would have been sassy?
No, I would have
Who would have been mean?
Endo. Mean.
So many people love Endo.
Yeah, but
and he takes lots of pictures of people.
But he's very much like he's maybe it's Takakeisho. Maybe. He's like, no, I don't have time.
Yeah.
It could be Taka.
You know, I don't know if I've seen him in one smiling picture. He's like, I have to go make my father proud.
Yeah, he's rarely in fan photos anyway.
Okay,
so
well,
maybe it's him.
Well, anyway, she says, one nice memory was meeting Hakuoho, then Ochiai, at Hakuoho's retirement ceremony. She went to Hakuoho's retirement ceremony. I was already a huge fan of his, having watched him dominate in amateur sumo. I was shy to ask him for a pic and even flubbed his name, facepalm, and he gently pulled me into his space and threw his arm around me like he'd known me for years. He's such a charmer. So Hakuoho is such a charmer. She says
she got an unbidden hug from the man.
Listen to this. Aqua is one of the coolest to meet. So friendly and personable. I gave him a gift bag of chocolates the first time I met him, and he was so sweet and hung around for lots of pics and light chit chat. He speaks a bit of English.
I've heard that about him. Yeah.
When he saw me at the Tatsunami Bea's Senshiraku party the next week. Okay, so she's partying out of these stables. He said to her, "Thank you for the chocolate," and was hanging around us poor normies, is what she calls herself, much of the night instead of the rich supporters on the other side of the party. A man of the people, she writes. One thing that she's noticed about meeting Sekitori is that they love it when you know the names of their tsukibitos.
Oh, that's interesting.
So Ichi Yamamoto was delighted when she knew his attendant, Kitanosho. Enho was absolutely tickled at me fawning over his attendant, Raiho. So if you want to impress your favorite Rikishi, learn the shikona of every low division wrestler. Easy.
That's a good piece of advice.
Isn't it? My favorite part of the sport is the absence of weight classes. Watching a smaller guy like someone like Midori Fuji take down a larger opponent is always fun, and she appreciates the humble and respectful aspect of the sport. So different from sports in my country, which is America. So I have too many favorites to name as far as wrestlers go, but Kiho really hits every point for me. Small and muscular, fun sumo, super nice in person. And when you watch someone go from amateur to pro sumo, you get a more invested feeling in their career, if that makes sense. I miss his adorable face in Epic Shiko. He seems to be pretty healed up from his surgery in November and will be back soon. Her favorite stable is Michinoku because
why?
She had buddies there and got to visit after hours quite a bit, which was awesome. They're closed now, but I'm still friends with a couple of the recently retired Rikishi from there and talk to them often. They're doing great in their new lives. My other favorite Heya is Miyagano, but, well, you know, that's been a rocky year for sumo super fans there. Luckily, the Heya merger seems to be going well on all accounts. She says Oshiogawa and Asakayama Beya are other faves because the Rikishi and Oyakata both are really nice and have fun wrestlers. Keep an eye on Ajigawa Beya, the next big thing. So many talented young prospects from there. Former Amanishiki is very good at recruiting.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. She says, I will be attending a few days of the upcoming May Basho. There is nothing like attending live sumo. The energy is electric. Should be also visiting a couple of Heya to watch morning practices. Very excited. the 8th question was, I live in America. I asked her where she lives. I live in America. She's just always gallivanting in Japan. I'm so impressed.
I know. I have so many more questions. Like, how are you doing this? How often are you going over? How did you get introductions to all these places?
We need to chat with like Sarah, like hot tips from Sarah on traveling to see
How
sumo.
did you do that?
She says on social media, she's Sarah Loves Sumo on Twitter and IG, and Sarah Likes Sumo on YouTube and Patreon, and pretty much she's more on Patreon than YouTube for copyright purposes. She makes highlight reels of all the lower divisions of each day of sumo. So about 6 hours of bouts condensed into the best 20 to 30 minutes. So she makes highlight reels of those.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she likes to do compilations of fun, goofy sumo-related moments. So you can find her also, on Patreon to be able to kind of get a handle on all that other fun stuff that she does.
And she's the one, now correct me if I'm wrong, all I'm picturing is like her, she's got brown curly hair,
and
she seems really small next to a very large sumo wrestler, just smiling, and they're smiling next to her. Like, I seriously thought she lived just down the street.
I did too.
And was there for every basho. I had no idea that she was coming from America.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh?
Very cool.
My next sumo fan, you see her on Twitter a lot, Patricia Dobashi. Patricia started Twitter about 6 years ago, mostly for the news and stories that were unique to Japan, but found herself lured into posts about sumo. At that time, I had only read and rarely responded, and somehow earned my first follower, who also happens to be a big fan of Sumo Kaboom, Robbie Rasgards.
Oh, nice. Rasgards, yeah.
Who has become a really good, like a forever friend.
Yeah.
And they would never have met if not for the love of sumo and the conversation about it on Twitter. So now she has over 1,300 followers who are the nicest people that love sumo, and they're very good writers in expressing their viewpoints. So for her, she spends about 5 to 6 hours a day reading and researching, and then writing at least one daily post. And on the Sunday after Shiraku, she says she doesn't bother to get out of her pajamas all day because it is all day to evening sumo reading and writing event with so many posted stories and articles about the parties, the celebrations, critiques, analysis, and her favorite part, family stories about the champion.
Wait. Is she in America too?
She lives in America.
You are kidding me.
No, but she is Japanese American. She states later. So that's why she's going through all of the Japanese language articles and kind of putting them all together in her head and then writing up, little short snippets for us.
I would be lost without her posts.
I know.
Absolutely lost.
She then, when she finds the ones that she's interested in sharing, she'll then post those. So she just kind of combs it all and then puts out the best stuff for us to see.
Oh my God, Patricia, I would be lost without your effort.
I know.
Thank you so much for doing what you do.
Get this. She says, when I was in high school and college, my boyfriend, also Japanese American like me, was a national collegiate judo champion. So I learned a bit about judo, which served as a foundation in understanding sumo. And to this day, the Rikishiga I like best employ judo in their sumo. And I have more than a couple times began stories with, boys, brush up on your judo. So, of course, Asa Shoryu and Hoshoryu, because, they come from that judo background and it's exciting. And in her opinion, the most exciting, skillful, amazingly strong and determined sumotori that would be Asa Shoryu captivates her in no matter how many times she watches his films, of his bouts. And she's also just beside herself about this surgery for cancer. So like Patricia, we're all sending good vibes to Asa Shoryu because he is our favorite spicy uncle. Okay, so in the early 1990s, she said, I asked a relative in Tokyo for an introduction to Terao. So my mother and I met Terao and were asked to go to dinner with him. And that's all I am going to say about that. Even my husband doesn't know.
What? Oh. It
She
sounds
says-
like this is a date.
It sounds like it was.
Like very romantic.
Well, we don't
Okay,
know.
I'm making a whole story
We're
in my
making
head
up
now, Patricia.
Patricia's
that
story.
You had the night of your life.
with Tero.
Yeah, you
But-
just got an introduction from Mom, and then the two of you went off on your own and had a lovely, lovely evening.
Yes. Well, Tero, she says, will always be her favorite, as is
See?
I know.
See?
As is Kakeru, who is the last major star to come out of Izutsu stable, the Heia of Tero Kirishima.
I think she just
one.
lived out the
And-
fantasy that I have in my head all
I know,
the time.
I know. And Sakahoko. So that makes sense why she might have a connection to sumo, is that she got to have maybe one night out with a sumo wrestler.
I have no idea if this is true.
in the
I love
early
it.
90s.
I love it.
Although the stars of sumo are exalted, maybe even considered lesser gods in Japan lore and culture, I admire how approachable they are, and they seem to love being with their fans, giving their autographs, taking endless photos, and holding their babies. I love that about sumotori, something I don't see occurring with sports in the US, but of course Japan and America have vastly different cultures, but this closeness and sense of humanity that Rikishi have are qualities that engender and engage me to sumo, she says. Of course, the Japanese ethos of honor, sacrifice, dignity, and respect for your opponent are exquisite and very Japanese. So she says, I think all true sumo fans appreciate these distinguishing characters. It's funny. Once in a great while, she will receive criticism from someone who tells me, oh, come on, you love the brute violence in sumo. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Hakuho was a stone badass who body slammed guys and all of you love it. And people think like this. They just don't get it, in her opinion. And they never will. So she chooses to just never argue with those people. So
Good choice.
yeah,
Good
she
choice.
chooses, it's also very Japanese, she says, to quietly turn away and just to think about the ignorance of people. So that is kind of how she feels if she gets criticism from people who just love the brutality, perceived brutality of the sport. They kind of miss the boat on all of it. So to us, she says, thank you. By the way, you, Laurie and Leslie, you really made my day by saying my posts are actually useful to your research.
Oh my God, all the time.
All the time. This pleases me so much, especially because I very much admire your content and informative shows, which is so sweet. She says, I love the verb buoyance and fun you have brought to our English-speaking sumo community that has opened up the otherwise stiff sumo commentary world with your exuberance and making it so much more approachable than it was pre-Sumo Kaboom. And
that's really lovely.
here's this one. Whoever thought of and produced our Sumo Bingo has energized and made sumo even more fun to follow.
Yay!
And the prizes, and she remembers when Robbie was one of our first winners, and so
oh my God, I love it.
now she can laugh about the sad sack makikoshis, and nobody could do that better. Bring that to people better than the L&L sisters. So that's what Patricia has to say. Isn't that fun?
That is really nice. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Wow, I feel like we're just kind of hugging each other across the digital space.
I know.
Because we adore everything that she puts out, and she helps me understand the world of sumo better than I would,
Right.
Through translations.
Right.
And maybe we're doing the same for her
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Now I'm going to take you to someone who does not live in America.
Okay.
And this is Emilien Grenot. 33-year-old French guy living in Burgundy, approximately halfway between Paris and Lyon. I like to say Emilien Grenot.
I heard the accent as soon as you said his name.
It's so wrong. It's so wrong.
And
But
yet you
anytime,
do it every time. I love it.
I do it, it's just like I'm sound like I'm straight out of Beauty and the Beast, a cartoon version of French, which is not remotely close to French. Emilien says, I've always been a fan of martial arts, practicing judo in my youth. I get into sumo in the spring, or they got into the sport in 2017 in the spring, just after Kiseno Sato won the Hatsu Basho, when a French TV program used to stream the NHK highlights. So I didn't know the NHK highlights was like being streamed in every language, or maybe it was in English and they were doing French.
I don't know.
Or maybe Emilien has always spoken English and just
I don't know.
could
Let us
watch.
know.
I
People
know.
in France, let us know. Are you getting it in French?
He says, I knew a bit about these big athletes because I was a big fan of our late Yokozuna Akebono in his pro wrestling years. Me too. Today, Emilien says, I am a big fan of the Tatsunami Bea crew, especially Hoshoryu. But I'm following the Ikazuchi stable because I love the way the Shisho and his wife are considering their Rikishi as family. I have not actually heard of that stable. So,
and how is he following them? Does he say?
I don't know. We'll have to, I'm sure you can just do a Google search of all. There's so many stables that there's tons of them out there that I actually don't know much about. So I imagine it's just a Google search could bring you up with some information of all the other, stables we tend to kind of overlook. He says, regarding my work, I spend at least 4 to 5 hours a day looking for the most pertinent news to report to my followers in the evening. I'm using mainly
these people are dedicated.
I know.
If there's one theme that's going through all this, the people are dedicated.
Yeah. I mean, we spend
No, I mean, we spend a lot of time, but not every day.
No, we are procrastinators.
We were
come
like
Sunday night,
like 2
what are we
days a
doing
week,
tomorrow?
2-3 days a week, that's it, and then we take a break. But these people are like every
day. 4, 5, 6, 7,
wow.
8, 9. Isn't that interesting? I'm using mainly the Japanese websites, but Twitter and Instagram are also great for the non-televised events like Jungyo, like all of the tours, because people mostly share what they cannot see elsewhere.
Yeah.
During the tournament, I like to create my own stuff based on the association videos and add bonuses sometimes with lower ranked Rikishi with possibly the one to follow kind of like
new and upcoming.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming soon.
Yeah, and if you want to follow, you can follow Emilien on Facebook at facebook.com/forensumo, which is FURANSUMO. But I'm planning to open, he says, in the next month or even weeks, a website in both French and English. And there you'll be able to see the things I already share on Facebook, plus exclusive content based on the level of your prescription. So you've got 3 different choices. We're going to put the link in our show notes, and I'm sure you can probably follow it or find it if you follow Emilien on social media. But the deadline to contribute is June 30th. But I always see lots of fun posts from Emilien. I'd always appreciate when you see it translated into different languages, because it's not just English speakers, So there's a lot of people all over Europe who might speak something other than English and who appreciate it. So,
are you finding it on Facebook or on Twitter?
Emilien, I always usually find on Twitter.
On Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emilien is also seen, I think, in a lot of the sumo chat, the sumo forums and groups like that, kind of giving commentary on certain sumo topics. So Emilien's definitely kind of all over as well. So not only just knowledgeable about sumo and wrestlers, but history of the sport and context. And I always appreciate he's just a top contributor everywhere.
Okay.
And but again, I mostly see him on Twitter when I'm on Twitter. Okay, the last person I want to highlight is Tobias from Hakioi Sumo News and Stats. And Tobias gave me some of his answers here for you. How did he get into sumo? Well, I got into sumo one evening as a child at about 10 years of age, and I wasn't allowed to watch TV past 8 p.m. And I was curious about the TV and what I'm not supposed to watch after 8 p.m. And he zapped around and actually found 2 huge guys fighting in a way I'd never seen before, and remembering that one was Musashi Maru because he remembered thinking that he had a funny face. So to him as a little boy, he had a funny, probably a big face. You know what I mean? He was big.
Big, friendly.
Yeah, just a big, and he just liked his face. He was just had a fun face. He got bit by the bug. He was in at that point.
This nice looking large man. I like this. This is what I'm not supposed to be watching.
I don't know, from a kid's point of view, I don't know. When I look at Musashi Maru, he has kind of a sweet face.
Yeah, he does.
He really does. So it might have been that, a trusting face in some way, Tobias spends a pretty good load of time, especially during the basho, doing sumo stuff. It's actually tough because I don't really speak Japanese, so I have to use a translator, but I really love spending so much time on finding information, news, or just funny sumo content related stuff that's related to any post he's putting out there. He's never met a Rikishi, But I had Asashoryu liking and even retweeting some of my posts, which felt great.
Hey, that's a success right there.
And
I do that whenever Teretsuyoshi likes whatever we post. I'm always just like,
Teretsuyoshi likes what we post?
Yeah, sometimes he will do like, yeah.
Well, then I watched a video of him like upside down in his room, just like a whole live video that I'm like, there were only like 40 people on it. And I was like, and then me, it was all speaking in Japanese. And then to another wrestler who was somewhere else. Like it was just like a snapshot like
of his life right now.
Yeah. He was just
so
like
normal.
laying on a bed and he was just like talking. And I was like, I don't know if he's actually intending this to be watched by 40 people, but I'm going to watch. It was just kind of like, hey man,
I love
just shooting the shit with some friend, you know? Anyway, but blah, blah, blah. Tobias says, Konishiki and the Kyokai itself have also retweeted and liked a tweet of mine. But that's the closest I've gotten to Rikishi, and I would love to join a Heya supporters group. So I think, is Sarah part? We need to connect him up with Sarah.
I was just
because
that.
there are some of them that are like kind of strictly Japanese, maybe. But I don't know. We need to ask how Sumo...
Is Tobias in America too?
No, Germany.
Okay.
Germany.
Oh, Germany.
Yep. So
no German accent for us?
Yes, I could do that. Oh, he says, in my collection of around 100 tegata and autographs.
I'm so sorry, Tobias.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just doing my downstairs neighbor whose name was Dorothea, who was German. And she sounded like that all the time, but like angry all the time. Leslie, you're doing the recycling incorrectly. Anyway, back to... Sumo News and Stats. He does have over 100, around 100 Tagata and autographs.
Wow,
so the big boys have all
amazing.
touched those, which means long distance held hands with him.
Yeah.
So favorite aspect of the sport is the peaceful fighting. Actually, they take a lot of pride in traditional and the tradition and rituals, and he just loves that because sometimes, in his opinion, it's a little too strict. But like. For instance, he does not like that Teretsuyoshi got reprimanded by just seeing a reptile and amphibian show when he was Kyujo. And he just thinks it's absolutely wrong. Like, let the boy look at turtles and be glad it's just turtles, which is hilarious. It's true. I mean,
I agree.
They're incredibly too strict. And I agree. Let the guy see a reptile show.
Yep.
He researches the internet, Japanese news, the Kyokai website, Heya Twitter pages, and other outlets. And I co-work with other sumo Twitter people by retweeting their information if they have it sooner than me.
Okay.
So what I especially love is the new insights from other sumo Twitter people. I don't get everything wrong, but I am glad about the helping each other out.
I don't get everything wrong.
That
seems to suggest that you do get some things wrong.
Right.
Should we be reading this and with a grain of salt?
But he says there's a good checks and balances. Like they kind of help each other out and like comment when there's mistakes and stuff.
Honestly, don't we all?
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah, people tell us all the time, like, you got that
Not
wrong.
all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, they're like, well, you were close, but not exactly right.
Yeah, but that's because I'm often wrong. So anyway.
We're not always wrong.
But a lot of the time we are. Especially with my French and German accents. That is 100% wrong. He says, I am a little Oitekaze fanboy. I love the boys there. And Indo the most. Second at Oitekaze would be Tsurugisho. Of course, I love Bushozan too. He's my boy. I have actually written a letter.
Bushozan?
Bushozan.
I've never heard anyone say Bushozan is my boy.
Well, now we have met one person who friggin' loves Bushozan. And I've actually...
Why? Does he say why?
He says he's just written a letter to Fujishima Oyakata praising Bushozan when he first made it to Sekitori but never received an answer. I'm still very sad about that.
Yeah, well, I would be too, because that takes some effort.
I know. There's also Fujizuma, Tochimaru, and Amakaze on my list of I love them. But you must never forget Chiyomaru, who is my Chiyo baby.
Yeah. Well, now we know the secret sauce is you have to know the names of their Tsukibito.
Right.
Tsukibito. If you can say, hey, I noticed this guy, Jeff, has been helping you out a lot, then they would like you.
Right. But nobody's Tsukibito is named Jeff.
But if they were,
it'd be a lot easier to remember.
It'd be a lot easier for me.
Like Hako was like,
this
the
is
day
Jeff.
was Jeff, Tanner,
And
Connor, Steve, Gart. Sadly, that's American Tsukibitos. Okay, so he says sooner or later, or he says the last years were a lot of chaos in his life, switching jobs, moving to another city. It was all very expensive. I hope to make it to the next 2 or 3 years, make it to tournament in the next 2 or 3 years. And his original plan was in 2020, had everything booked, ready to go. And of course, well, we had COVID.
Yeah.
So if this tour that he hears is coming to London, he hears rumors. If that happens, you can bet your booty he's going to be in London watching that.
Yeah, because that's a short plane ride, I imagine. Maybe you could even take a train. I don't know.
Yeah. Ooh, imagine.
So.
Who knows?
Yeah.
They're all connected by land, at least Germany to England, right? So
I think there's a channel in there somewhere.
I mean, there's a tube somewhere between France and all I know is that it's all real close compared to what we have here. Anyway, he says he would love to live in Japan. Their culture quite matches how I want to live, especially the silence on public transportation.
That does sound lovely.
Yeah, I live in Germany, born and raised here. Sometimes I admire how clean and polite Japan is, wishing Germany would at least have half of it. I most likely never leave Germany for Japan.
Must be loud and very dirty.
I was like,
that's the way it sounds.
Have you been to America? I mean,
I don't know. I've not been to Germany, so I can't say.
Well, we should because that's where our ancestors is from.
Yep.
Anyway, he would most likely never leave Germany for Japan, but never say never, I guess. My plans regarding my sumo content is to get closer to the people.
Hey.
Signing autographs and sending them out via mail and stuff. Not just kidding. Nobody wants that. He says he wants to do more contests, open polls about what I could do better. Maybe even my hamster mascot on a shirt.
Ooh, I like it.
Merchandise has been on my mind for quite some time. There are ideas, but nothing too specific. Maybe YouTube, but the Kyokai likes banning people. So actually, the contest will be coming sooner than later because I feel really bad about winning 2 contests so far and only having participated in 1 as a prize sponsor. I think he's referring to us.
Yes. Well, you can always sponsor again.
Yes, absolutely.
I think don't be ashamed of the fact that you're winning. Don't ever be ashamed.
Those are your bragging rights.
Yep. Just take it on and be like, yes, I am a 2-time winner.
Yep.
And I adore it.
Yep. Twitter is where he started in January 2020, and where he's most active. I've heard about Discord, he says, but I haven't joined there yet. He's hoping in the future that some of his followers will contact him, asking him stuff, asking him suggestions on what they want to see or read, leaving critique and that kind of stuff. He says he's very thankful about every single person who enjoys his content. He said he lives through some dark times and always could go through my sumo people and get cheered up in mere seconds. So
that is so true.
It is so true.
That is truth on a piece of white bread right there. Yep.
And I also think it's wild that some people really have notifications on when, like a push notification on their phones when I start tweeting something. That absolutely blows my mind. And I was like, is that true? Do people
do that?
Does anyone turn their notifications on? Because you probably rarely get a notification that we've tweeted because it's once a week.
If that.
If that. Oh, this is a funny thing. I was like, what's a funny sumo tidbit? He's like, let me think about that. But I've got a kind of funny story from work.
Okay.
He had a huge delivery and nobody to transport it. And so
delivery. Is he a delivery guy?
I don't know
Amazon guy?
I don't know, but he said the ladies who accepted it called me to help. And I tried to push this huge pallet, but I couldn't move it. I tried again and started to get angry. So I had decided to charge into it Tachi style and let my weight work.
Uh-oh.
Well, I got a bit too angry and too carried away because I slapped a harite on the box before charging into it and made the whole thing collapse.
Oh.
He laughs. Those ladies couldn't hold it together anymore. They were laughing, but I still was a little embarrassed. They kept asking me, why'd I slap the boxes before trying to ram into them? They asked that for weeks. He also says, thank you for the awesome podcast that you do for us to all enjoy. That's something probably everyone else appreciates very much. Thank you very much for having me. So greetings from Germany. That was Tobias from Hakioi News, Sumo News and Stats. So that's my highlight of some of the people that I see on the radar. Now, forgive me if we have skipped some of the hugest players. Laurie perhaps sees it on hers. This should be no secret to you. We share the sumo social media responsibility. So we miss a lot of things and one of us sees something that the other doesn't. So we try to keep up as best as we can. And we really appreciate all you do to get that sweet sumo content in front of our faces to be able to report back to you in a podcast.
Yep. We're just loving it. So thank you to all of you who do it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for posting all those photos and great content. I'm learning from you. That's just a mutual love shower all the way around.
Go ahead and follow these people if you aren't already following them, and enjoy all of their content because they put out some great stuff.
Yeah.
So next week we'll be back with you with the
more stuff.
The bond's okay, I think.
I don't know.
Who knows? We'll see. But until next week, I'm Leslie.
I'm Laurie. See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.